Let's think about Neelkantha, for example, right? So Neelkantha, as all of us know, I think, is that Kantha means the neck region, Neela means blue. And it is said that at the time of creation, when the Samudra Mathana happened, Visha came out, and that Visha, that Shiva drank that Visha, and that is why you see the Neelkantha. Now, in the first place, it's not that Shiva could not digest that Visha. So, when you say Neelkantha, and Neela is not bad, Neela is good. So, in energy, when you look at the color of energy, like what comes from the sun, for example, right? When you go past red and yellow and orange and all those things, even green, what do you get after that? The blue. So, blue, for Krishna we say Neela Megha Shyama, right? So, blue is indicative of actually touching that divine presence, right? So, what happens here is that again, think of the mind, because that's where Shiva is, right? Inside the body. So, it's not so much that we have to go back to the time of creation of the universe. Every single thing in my life at the beginning, Mathana is actually churning. So, every single thing that do, for example, I may be starting a new studying something new, or I may be starting a new job, or I may be getting married. There's so many new beginnings for us, right? So, at the beginning, that Mathana is important, right? So, basically churning to see what comes out. So, that milk, the ocean of milk that is churned, that milk represents Veda Jnana. Because there is Veda Jnana embedded in everything. You may say, what does Vedas have got to do with me taking a new job? Well, there's everything, because Veda is the collection of all eternal truths. So, there's nothing you or I can do that is outside the realm of Vedas. Now, whether I know it or not is a different issue, but it cannot be outside of that, because it's a collection of all eternal truths. So, in every single thing, if I do Mathana, that is, I look at every single karma from a Vedic perspective and say, what am I doing? So, when you start doing that Mathana, what happens is, the very first thing that comes out is Visha. And Visha is not something that is universal. Like what is poisonous for me may not be poisonous for you, or for a different species. You know, what can kill one species need not kill another species, right? So, Visha is what is it that is toxic, not so much going to kill, it's what is toxic for me. Because we know that we don't want toxicity. We don't want toxicity in our minds, we don't want toxicity in my thoughts, in my speech, in my action, in everything. I don't want toxicity. So that Visha, why do they show it's in Shiva's Kantha? That's because, what is Kantha? Kantha is the interface between this part of my body and rest of my body. If you think about it, all my 5 jnanendriyas, sensory organs, are all here on the top. All my karmendriyas are below. So, all the karmendriyas through which I do things, they are all below, but all the sensory information, all the jnana that I acquire is above. So, the thing that connects the jnana and karma, which is very important by the way, which is very, very important, that connection between knowledge, actually we should say jnana because knowledge is not a very good translation, but for right now we will say knowledge and action. So, the interface between knowledge and action is the Kantha. So when you say Shiva absorbs that poison and turns that poison into Neelavarna. So what happens to us is that when I acquire some knowledge and so on and I'm translating to karma, when I do that mathana, that churning at the beginning of anything, any action, any karma, any new endeavor that I'm starting, right? Then what happens is when I first start, the first thing comes out is toxicity. You may say, why is that? Well, because for you to get amrita, which is what I'm after, first all the toxicity has to be removed out of it. If you don't remove the toxicity, then you don't actually get amrita, because amrita, as the word says, amrita. Mrita means change of form. Amrita means lack of change of form, right? So I want to be steady. I want to be a sthita prajna, right? I want to be steady my whole life. I don't want to keep doing one thing today, thinking something else tomorrow, because the mind, as you know, goes all over the place. Yeah. Today you think, hey, this is a great thing I should do. Tomorrow morning you get up and say, nah, I don't want to do that. So you have to be steady, the mind has to be steady. If the mind has to be steady, then toxicity has to be removed from that. And Shiva sitting in the mind will actually help you do that. So this Devata Shakti, of one of the highest Devata Shaktis, when you do Upasana of Shiva, one thing that happens is that every single karma that I do, no matter how small or how big, at the beginning, you should always bow down to Shiva also. Ganapati, Shiva, Bhagavanta. But Shiva's role in this is to actually remove, not so much remove, but transform. Transform the toxicity between thought and action, or knowledge and karma, and turn that into something divine, which is blue in color.